Welcome to Court Helicopter News. Our explainer, as we said, it is premised on two things. That Section 7 of the Penal Code says ignorance of the law is no defense against any offense that you'll be charged or anybody will be charged. So when we looked at the number of people convicted, because they don't know, they were never aware of the law. So Court Helicopter has decided to bring how do you avoid this. So we decided that this one will put it in a symbolic manner, in a sports gear, in a tracksuit, and as gym way. Keep off crime. Put on your escape shoes, you run away from crime. Instead, go to sports. For the Gen Z, for the young people, engage yourself in sports. Football is now there. Content creation is now there. Do not involve yourself in crime, because crime is very expensive. Crime is completely devastating, and you'll never get any defense that you didn't know the law, because Section 7 does not allow you not to be convicted because you didn't know the law. What does the law say? We are now moving to Section 99 of the Penal Code, which is very, very clear. This Section 99 of the Penal Code talks about abuse of office. Are you employed in the public service? We did the Constitution, and in Article 32, we defined the public service. The public service is the totality of anybody who earns from the consolidated fund. These are civil servants, mainstream civil servants, those people in organizations called the commissions, those people in tribunals, those people in public universities, those people employed in the parastatals, those people employed in independent offices. What is abuse of office in Section 99? It talks of any person who is employed in the public service and is being charged by virtue of his employment with any judicial or administrative duties respecting property of a special character or respecting the carrying on or of manufacture, trade, or business of a special character, and having acquired or holding directly or indirectly a private interest in any of such property, manufacture, trade, or business, discharges any such duties with respect to the property, manufacture, trade, or business in which he has such interest, or with respect to the conduct of any person in relation thereto, is guilty of a felony. Let me put it very simply. If you are a public officer and you are mandated to protect certain properties, you are the MOH, the drugs that you are supposed to administer to people, you take them to your private clinic. You are a land registrar. Instead of protecting the land, government land, you change the title deed to read your girlfriend or your husband's name. You are a person in charge of recruitment to KMTC. You do not take the girls and the boys who have qualified. Instead, you give admission letters to your own students, your own children, your own relatives, your own friends, your own boyfriend or girlfriend. That is an abuse of office. You are a principal of a school. Right now, students are looking for Form 1 places, and you do not give the right students those letters of administration. You are of admission. That is an abuse of office. So an abuse of office is where the authority bestowed on you as we put it in Article 232 of the Constitution, it is authority that you hold on behalf of the citizens of this country. When you abuse that, then that is a felony. We explained a felony is if you are found guilty of a felony, you'll be jailed between 3 years and 7 years. Why do you want to go to that position? The choices are yours. Either wear your running shoes, run away from abuse of office, or you will continue being jailed at the prisons that are spread the whole country. Section 100 is false claims by persons employed in public service. So, still in public service, there is money that you are entitled to receive for the purpose of doing your work. For example, travel allowances. You want to travel from your workstation in Nairobi, you are going to work in Nyamira. You want to travel from your workstation in Bungoma, you are going to sleep in Mombasa. You must be facilitated to sleep in Mombasa. You are going for sports as a sports administrator, and you must claim some money to give you your air ticket to travel to the Mexico Olympics. So all these monies that you are supposed to claim by virtue of discharging your mandate, if you falsely claim, if you falsely add, you have slept in a small hotel, they have charged you 2,000 shillings, but you go and get receipts saying that you slept in a 5-star hotel and you are supposed to be paid 20,000 per night, that is false claims. You will be found guilty. You will be jailed for an offense called a felony. So you risk going in for between 3 years to 7 years as a felony. Then we have Section 101, abuse of office. We have abuse of office. What does it say? Any person who being employed in the public service does or directs to be done in abuse of the authority of his office, any arbitrary act prejudicial to the rights of another is guilty of a felony. So, abuse of office. Are you the OCS and you order somebody to be detained for more than 24 hours? That is abuse of office. Are you a traffic officer? You get a matatu driver on the road driving, you tell them, get all passengers out, take me to where I want to go first, drop me because I'm a police officer, because I'm a senior public officer. That is abuse of office. That is doing things outside the law. For the media, and this is why Court Helicopter is always one of the people defending the media. Have you, as a police officer, confiscated tools of trade of journalism? You get a journalist covering a story, you take the camera, you tell her or him, delete what you are covering. That is abuse of office. So, anybody who will misuse his powers in whichever manner, you will be, if you're convicted, you'll be jailed between 3 years to 7 years, because under Section 101, that is abuse of office. Section 102, do you have a genuine certificate for you to be employed in public service? Are your certificates forged? Are your certificates forgeries? Have you put on your CV that you have a master's degree when you don't have? Have you put on your CV that you have computer certificates and you even don't know how a computer works? Have you falsified your credentials? Have you said you are an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, when, my friend, you have never even appeared before the Kenya School of Law? What does this mean? We have seen a crackdown, the circular from the ministry and the Public Service Commission for people to present certificates so that an audit is done. How many people in this country have certificates that are fake and they are very prominent jobs? Many of the Gen Zs have the first degree, have the second degree, have the third degree, have serious professional certificates. They have no jobs. They are jobless not because they don't have qualifications. They are jobless because people with forged certificates have taken their jobs. Let us see what that section says. Section 102, it says, any person who being authorized or required by law to give any certificate touching any matter by virtue whereof the rights of any person may be prejudicially affected, gives a certificate which is to his knowledge false in any material particular, is guilty of a felony. You risk to go in for 7 years. This doesn't only include the people who are presenting this certificate. Those also in universities who have given people degrees and yet they didn't qualify. Have you given a certificate that is false and you know it is false? Are you a doctor and somebody comes and says, give me a medical cheat. I don't know what to, Mr. Danstan Omari's law firm, you must show why you are not coming to duty. Court helicopter demands, if I'm not going to work, you must produce a medical cheat. Are you a doctor who has written to somebody lying that that person is unwell and that person cannot go to work? If you are found with this, 7 years is just beckoning to you. Then we have a person convicted under these sections of this, we have said, shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 1 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years. So any abuse of office, the ones that we have talked about, the law in section 102A has now provided for the penalties. You will pay a fine not exceeding 1 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years, or both. Then we now go to section 103. That is unauthorized administration of oaths. Do you remember when Raila Odinga, the late doyen of the opposition politics of this country, was sworn in at Uhuru Park by Miguna, and there was chaos? What happens if the elections of 2027, somebody is declared the president, then the opposition person is sworn in as a presidential, as the validly elected president? Can you yourself swear in a person purporting to be the CJ? The CJ, Mother Kome, is there. You go somewhere and swear in somebody else as the CJ. There is an Inspector General of Police. You go somewhere and swear in somebody as an Inspector General of Police. It has happened in this country. Raila Odinga has been sworn in. Miguna has done that. What does the law say? Let me look at it. Any person who administers an oath or takes solemn declaration or affirmation or affidavit touching any matter with respect to which he has not by law any authority to do so is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable to imprisonment for 1 year. So Miguna if he was arrested for swearing in Raila Odinga, because the law does not confer him the power to swear a president. Only we did this in court helicopter. Only the president-elect shall be sworn in by the registrar of the judiciary in the presence of the Chief Justice. If the Chief Justice is not present, the Deputy Chief Justice. That is the constitutional provision. So, was there Was Miguna the registrar of the judiciary? He was not. Was there the presence of the Chief Justice? He was not present. Was it in a public place between 10 a.m. up to 2 p.m.? It was not. Was it a national holiday? It was not declared a national holiday. So if Miguna, and still remember, this is not final. We talked that the criminal law, there is no limitation. The DCI still can go for Miguna, arrest him, charge him, and he'll be, if convicted, he will be jailed for 1 year. Provided that this section shall not apply to an oath, declaration, affirmation, or affidavit administered by or taken before a magistrate in any matter relating to the preservation of the peace, of the punishment of offences, or relating to inquiries respecting sudden deaths, or to any oath, declaration, affirmation, or affidavit administered or taken for some purposes which is lawful under the laws of another country, or for the purpose of giving validity to an instrument in writing which is intended to be used in another country. So this one excludes the lawyers. We do what we call a statutory oath of declaration, where a witness comes to your law firm and he deposits an affidavit. That affidavit, the lawyers have the authority to do that. The affidavits that are sworn in court by the magistrates have that available for them. So, my friend, don't administer an oath of office or affirmation to any public office without the authority, or else you will go in for 1 year. Then section 104 talks about false assumption of authority. Have you ever purported to have an authority? Have you ever walked somewhere and introduced yourself? Boss, you know me, I'm the DCI. Boss, do you know me? I'm the Auditor General. False assumption of authority. What does it say? Any person who, not being a judicial officer, assumes to act as a judicial officer. You are not a magistrate. You are not a Kadhi. You are not a judge of the High Court. You are not a judge of the Court of Appeal. You are not a judge of the Supreme Court. But you introduce yourself as a judicial officer. That one is false assumption of authority. B, any person who, without authority, assumes to act as a person having authority by law to administer an oath or take a solemn declaration or affirmation or affidavit, or to do any other act of a public nature which can only be done by a person authorized by law, or C, represents himself to be a person authorized by law to sign a document testifying to the contents of any register or record kept by lawful authority, or testifying to any facts or event, and signs such document as being so authorized when he is not, and knows that he is not, in fact, so authorized, is guilty of a misdemeanor. What does that mean? If you pretend that you have authority to sign lawful documents, you are not a land registrar. You sign for a title deed. You are not a magistrate. You sign a document at River Road to evict somebody. You are not an editor of a court helicopter. You sign a document pretending to be the editor of court helicopter. You are not authorized to sign documents on or behalf of the law firm of Danstan Omari and Associates. You sign. You pretend and hold yourself to be having that authority, or you order people to do things and you don't have the authority. If you are found guilty, that you'll be jailed as a misdemeanor. 105. What is the difference between that and the personating persons employed in public service? What is personating of persons employed in public service? Personation. In Kiswahili, they are called karubandika. Have you appeared all over as a karubandika? You are pretending to be so and so. What does the law talk of karubandikas in 105? Any person who personates any person employed in the public service on any occasion when the latter is required to do any act or attend in any place by virtue of his employment, or falsely represents himself to be a person employed in the public service and assumes to do any act or to attend in any place for the purpose of doing any act by virtue of such employment is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable for imprisonment for 3 years. Have you presented yourself in a bar when drinking that you are an officer of NIS? Have you said that you work for the DCI? Have you sat anywhere and pretended that you are an advocate when you are not an advocate? Have you called somebody and said there is a video clip going to be aired tomorrow by Court Helicopter or by certain media houses and you are not working in that media house? Then you say, if you don't get money to me, we'll cover that story. You extort by pretending that you work in Court Helicopter News. Have you driven your car when you are driving your car and the traffic officers get you overspeeding? When they stop you, you say you are a senior government officer. You work for the NIS. You work for the DCI. You work for the military. Have you pretended to be an employee of the military? Have you gone to a university and walked yourself in pretending to be a university student when you have never seen, you have never been admitted as a student of the university? If you pose as somebody who you are not, if you pose pretending that you are so and so when you are not, that is what is called personation, and if you're convicted, you'll go in for 3 years. The other day, Court Helicopter carried the clip of somebody pretending to be a senior military officer. Go refer to it. He was charged for pretending to be a top military guy. He has uniforms to that effect. The offense of pretending, personating to be a person of a certain public office when you are not in that. Then we have the threat of injury to persons employed in public service. Have you ever threatened anybody employed in public service that you can kill that person, you can harm that person, you can kick that person, you can do anything to that person? Do you know that is an offense? Threatening anybody working in the public service? What does it say? Section 106. Whoever holds out any threat of injury to any person employed in the public service so that you threaten him not to do anything, it goes on to say, whom he believes that person employed in the public service to be interested for the purpose of inducing that person employed in the public service to do any act or to forbear or delay to do any act of connected with this exercise of public functions, such a person is guilty of a misdemeanor. Kenya Power officers, they come to the estate. They want to inspect the meters. Have you threatened them? Nairobi Water meter readers or any county, the water meter readers walk to your premises and want to inspect water. They want to check for illegal connections in the slum areas. You call people and chase away. You want to ban them. You threaten their life. You are a small business person. You run a kinyosi. You run a barber shop. You run a massage parlor. You run a pedicure. You run a manicure. People from the county walk in to inspect whether you have licenses. You threaten them and tell them to do what you want them to do. My friend, if you are arrested and convicted, you'll go in for a misdemeanor. 3 years are beckoning. Then 107, tampering with public officers. How can you tamper with a public officer? Here, you induce or attempt to induce any public officer. What does this mean? You bribe a public officer. You induce that public officer. If you are a woman, you say you can agree to deal with it sexually. You'll give him a sexual favor. Let him not implement his matter. You can also, as a man, say, no, have a sister of mine. I can give you my sister of mine so that you don't give this matter. Or I can give you bread. Or I can talk to Omari. Omari is a good friend of mine. He can represent you in free for future. If you try to induce a public officer not to do that what he or she is supposed to do, you will go in for 3 years. Any influence on a public officer not to do what they are doing, either by money, either by, I know we shall be dealing with the next law called the Bribery Act, bribing a public officer. But here, if you induce in whatever manner, you will go in for 3 years. Let the public officers do their job. Don't induce them. Don't talk them. They say, nitakupanga boss. Kwani kuna shida nini? Tutaongea, wacha tuelewane. Wacha tuelewane. All these things are illegal under the law. So, we have looked at chapter 10 that looks at all public officers, offenses related to public officers, how you are supposed to respect the public officers, and how the public officers are supposed to respect the law to discharge their mandate within the law. Wakili Danstan Omari always tells you, Section 7 of the Penal Code tells you, any type of ignorance of the law is no defense for an offense that you commit. Keep your shoes on, keep your tracksuit on, keep your track shorts on, take flight from crime. Because as we tell you, the DCI is now getting refresher courses from Court Helicopter. They will be now releasing a lot of Subarus all over because everybody now knows the law as it is. Keep watching, keep observing. Have a happy new year. Wakili Danstan Omari from Court Helicopter News. See you in the next episode.